Today, I'm meeting with Donald Morgan. He is a renowned cinematographer and a Hollywood native. Throughout his career, he has been nominated for 9 Emmy Awards and won 5 of them. On top of that, he earned several awards from the American Society of Cinematographers. However, Donald says he failed at everything he tried before he succeeded at cinematography. Please welcome Donald Morgan. Thank you, Don, for taking the time to speak with me today.
My pleasure.
So I want to just find out a little bit more about your journey throughout your life and through your career. I want to get started with where you're from.
I'm from Hollywood, California.
Okay, so you're pretty local.
I'm a native.
Yeah. So what was that like growing up in Hollywood and then going into the film industry?
Well, I certainly wasn't heading that way in the beginning. I tried a lot of things before I became interested in camera.
So what kind of jobs were you doing before you got into the film industry?
I've been a failed rodeo rider, a failed race car driver. I've failed at a lot of things before I get. My first job in the film industry was in a film lab, processing film. And I did not like that, and I never thought I wanted to be in the film business. My dad was an animation cameraman. Mm-hmm. He was with Disney. He's way back in the 30s. He worked on Snow White and Bambi and Pinocchio and all those great Disney films. And I worked in film labs, and then I would go try something else, and I'd come back, and I worked as an animation cameraman for a little while. And it was back in the day when you turned a bunch of, went a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you punched a button and you took one shot at a time, and it was very boring. And I'm just not a guy that can sit still and I mean, I can do it, but I don't enjoy life doing it. So I finally got an opportunity with a guy by the name of Nelson Tyler that did aerial photography for the film business. And he used to do, car commercials, filming from a helicopter, and he built this mount, and it was, it was kind of a tricky thing to operate. You did everything with your fingers. You zoomed in, you zoomed out, you focused, you did everything. You didn't have an assistant flying around with you. And I started out as his assistant. In a little while, I started shooting, and it was, that's how I got started, and I really liked the excitement of the aerial photography. Little by little, people would ask me if I could grab something on the ground, and so I had to start expanding what I knew. I mean, I was very comfortable doing aerial photography.
So you found that one thing that you did like about the film industry.
Yeah, and I pretty much figured that I'd be an aerial cameraman the rest of my life. I never thought I'd be doing anything different.
But you went on to become a director of photography.
Yes, I did.
So how was that process like, or how did you get into that?
Well, it was kind of a fluke. The first thing that a guy ever asked me to do any lighting, which is what my job is, I work real close with the director. When we meet and we talk about the story, and what I try to do is service him. He has a vision of what he wants, and I'm supposed to bring that to life. So that's mainly what we do. Lighting is a big part of that. So I'm responsible for the look of the picture, mm-hmm. and I'm responsible for working with the director and lining up shots and making suggestions. Some directors, you have to be a little bit of a psychologist to do this job because every director is different. They all have different demands. Some don't want to hear one thing from you, and some want to hear everything from you, and most of them are somewhere in between.
So it seems like you're working with a lot of people, and you're working with a team of people, and you have to manage that team. How do you motivate people?
I think people, first of all, I'm very careful who I hire, just like the director is very careful who he hires. He wants someone that's really motivated and interested in his project. And that's the way I work. I want people that, if they don't want to do what we're doing, I don't want them on board. So, The real challenge in my job is not when I'm at home here, because I have a pick of several choices of people that you know, I know will do a good job. It's when you're out of town and you're out of the country. And I mean, you know, I've been in the Philippines and I've been in Spain and, you know, I've been all over the world, and they work different. They have different work ethics, and it's just a constant learning.
So what motivates you when you're working with these people on location that you're hiring that you don't really know and they don't know the job very well, and you have these challenges? What motivates you to work through those challenges and get the job done?
Well, I think the motivation comes from the love of filmmaking. I mean, I don't think I ever land anywhere that I don't have that. I mean, I'm as excited about, I'm 82 years old, I'm still making movies, and I'm as excited about working today as I was when I was brand new. I mean, it's an exciting job. It's a creative job. You're actually painting with light. Mm-hmm. I mean, we walk into a place, and you know, the part that's exciting to me is I walk into a building and I go, how in the heck am I going to light this? There's nowhere to hang a light, you know. And then you think of some way of doing it, and then you get to watch it, and you know, sometimes you say, oh, I wish I would have done this or that. But you know, I've been very fortunate with the projects, and the people I've been working with have been very creative, and so I've had some really nice experiences. You know, people say, what's the worst director? You know, I don't have those stories. I mean, some of them have little quirks that are interesting, but yeah, they all wanted to do the project, and they all wanted me to do a good job, and I wanted to do a good job, and that transfers to other people. If they see that you're out there really giving it, you know, if you're one of those guys that they can't find, and there are those people, and I'm not one of them, you know, I'm on the set all the time.
Yeah.
And when people that are working for you, even if they're new and out of the country, they get that mojo going, you know, they want to do what you want to do. If they're in this business, I think that's pretty much to the person.
Important then to work with that motivated team. Like, is that part of something that makes your job a little bit easier, to know that everyone has that same goal and that you're all striving towards? Yeah,
I've had jobs where it wasn't like that, and it's certainly a lot harder. I mean, the first time I went to Spain, they were used to working a little different than we were, and they did not like taking any direction from the cinematographer, the director of photography. They wanted to hear from the gaffer. And the gaffer that I was using the first time was not giving him the instructions. So I went over and started talking to him, and it was sort of a no-no. But when they realized that I wasn't doing any harm, and that, you know, it worked out, and the gaffer finally got on board and started doing what he was supposed to be doing, because he saw the energy that I think that the rest of the company was putting, and not just me. But I've been blessed with energetic people that want to do what they're doing, and I just got to say that I've been really fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, I think that makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite part of what you do and your least favorite part of what you do?
My least favorite part is the prepping. Because I think you prep, and then you get there and you do something different, you know. And you have to prep, you have to do it. But sometimes I see this stuff that we're doing, and I'm going, I just wonder if any of this is really going to happen. Yeah. And a lot of times it doesn't. You know, a lot of times you get there and you see. It's real easy to have someone say, I'm going to have her walk through that door, come over here and sit down. The other person's going to sit there, and they're going to have a conversation. Then when the director gets the cast there, and he runs through it, and maybe the actress says, you know, I'm really a little more comfortable standing here, and he doesn't want to make her uncomfortable, so, you know, there's adjustments made. So a lot of the stuff that you thought was going to happen, you got to think on your feet, and you got to be ready to move and do stuff that was not planned.
So what you're telling me, it seems like that's kind of a metaphor for life, because it seems like life kind of goes that way. You plan to go on this track, A is going to lead you to B. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, life's what happens while you're making plans, right?
So you've actually won 5 Emmys for the work that you've done. What do you think you did right to get to that level of success or achievement?
I think paying everybody off is what helped. Those $100 bills to all the voters. No, I just think it's the luck of the draw. I've had really good directors, really good projects, and when I learned to light, I did not go through the studio system where you start, way down here and you work your way up. By the time I got to a studio to do a movie, I'd already done a bunch of commercials and I'd done some independent movies. Where I actually learned to light was I was asked one time, could I light a bunch of kids that were yelling and screaming and having a good time? They were cutting from animation to live action kids, yelling and
okay.
So all they wanted was to pour some light in there and get these kids jumping around. And I told the guy, I don't know how to light, and he said, get a gaffer and I'm sure you can do it. And that pushed me into trying something that I wasn't really comfortable with. And I realized that I can't depend on someone else doing my job. So I sent away I still have the book at home. I sent away for a book of 100 famous paintings. And I saw Rembrandt's work and some of that stuff, and I'm looking through that. And I kept thinking, I could do this if I put a light here and I did that, and I put a little flicker to it, and and I started working with paintings in mind. And I've never been to a museum when I was a kid. I wasn't raised that way. And so I really didn't have any background in art. Mm-hmm. But when I looked at those pictures, something clicked, and whatever artistic ability is in me, it started coming out. And that's the way I started lighting. And little by little, I would try things. And I've always been lucky with picking people that wanted to see me do well.
So would you say you were good at picking mentors?
I think so.
You think they were mentors in your life?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think when you're on a movie set, if you're open to suggestion, mm-hmm. you hear a lot of things that you have to forget that they're not going to work for you. But somebody will say, I wonder if we did this, and all of a sudden something clicks. And I think that's the brilliance of, I know some people that they don't want to hear anything from anybody. It's their way or the highway. And that's real nice for them. But I think the joy for me in the movie business is the collaboration of people that want to accomplish the same thing. And you get ideas. I've worked with almost every director I've ever worked with. I've worked with them over and over and over. And it's because I listen to them and they also listen to me.
So what do you think was the role of those mentors in your life or in your career?
Oh, I think it was a necessity to have people that, I've never been one for telling you I can do something that I can't do. And when I've gotten jobs that were over my head, I would say, I need some help with this. And I think it's just the nature of the business that people want to do that. I think where you get in trouble is if you act like you know what you're doing and they know you don't, is when they don't want to help you. Yeah. But if you say, hey, I've never done this before, anybody got any help? I need some ideas here.
Seems like kind of making yourself a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't that life itself?
Yeah.
It's in all areas of our life that people that are truthful and have the passion for life and you're open, I think people are willing to help you.
So what are you most proud of in your life?
This interview.
You told me that you've done many things in your life and that you failed at many things in your life. What kept you keep trying multiple things?
I think it was lack of direction. I had a very limited education. I only went to the 6th grade. I had learning disabilities when I was a kid, still have them. And they're simple. They're no big deal. I cannot spell.
Are you dyslexic?
Yes. And you asked me to write something down, and I said I wouldn't do it. It's because I couldn't do it. I absolutely need help when my wife helps me write every letter. So my insecurities as a kid limited me to what I would try to do. And as I failed or succeeded in things, I got more courage and more self-esteem, and I was willing to start trying things that seemed a little bit out of my reach.
But you kept trying. You had the self-efficacy to keep trying until you found the thing that you were good at.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think being dyslexic is a bad thing. A lot of times it's actually a blessing in disguise.
Oh, I don't have any problem with it now. I used to try to cover it up and hide it. It's what it is. And I used to think it was ignorance. And I've got enough self-worth now to think that I don't think I could have accomplished what I've accomplished if I was ignorant. I think I had a disability. And I think that the disability, I mean, you see it Dancing with the Stars, a lady with no legs dancing. And that's the kind of courage that I admire. And she has a disability, but she's not letting it hold her back. And I refuse to let my very small disability hold me back.
People watching this who might have some sort of insecurity, how can they overcome that? What was your method?
I think you just have a little talk with yourself and say, I just cannot quit. Because I think the biggest barrier for me in my beginning was what I thought people were going to think of me. And when I got over that, then I started accomplishing things. When I said, it doesn't matter what they think, I can do this. And there was some things that didn't work out, but I didn't give up. I just figured this was not meant to be, and I went on to the next thing. And it's pretty much what it was.
So what are you most grateful for?
I'm just grateful that at 82 years old that I still have the fire in the tummy, that I want to get out there and still do stuff that, I'm raising a granddaughter who's 7 years old, and we've had her for 5 years. And, usually when you're 82 years old, you don't have a little girl that you're raising every day and taking her to school and watching her grow. And these are blessings that just kept coming my way. And I think that in my case, the best thing that I've ever learned is to look at stuff that might look hard and might look like a curse, but really is a blessing. I don't have curses. I have blessing after blessing after blessing, and that is an attitude. I mean, you've got that choice every day. There was a time in my life when I used to get up and think, yesterday was crap, today's crappy, I imagine tomorrow will be crappy, and I was never wrong. And now I get up and I go, yesterday was great, today's been good, I guess tomorrow will be even better, and I'm never wrong.
You control your destiny?
I think so. Yeah, I think you do. I think you do. I mean, I'm sure there's...
I think you're a living example of that.
I hope so. I hope so. I love life.
So the last thing I want to know is if there is one thing that you could change in your life or in your career, what would that be?
One thing that I could change?
Or that you could do differently, but I guess that would mean change it, so.
Well, I think
If anything.
it's really an impossible thing because you can't change anything. I think one of the biggest tricks is don't spend the rest of your life trying to change yesterday. I've never succeeded even a little bit at anything I didn't want to do that other people thought I ought to do. It's always what I wanted to do, and then it's not a job. I mean, since I've been in this business, I've never worked a day in my life. You know,
That's good.
I just go have a good time. People used to say to me, "Aren't you glad it's Friday?" I said, "Not necessarily." And Monday, I'd say, "Aren't you glad it's Monday?" You know, here we are. We got a bunch of people playing with lights, and we're making little movies. So
That's a good message to send to people. I mean, if you love what you're doing, then it's not a job; it's a calling, and that's what all of us should be doing.
that's what I tell my kids.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Blessing after blessing, and that is an attitude. I mean, you've got that choice every day. There was a time in my life when I used to get up and think, yesterday was crap, today's crappy, and imagine tomorrow will be crappy, and I was never wrong. And now I get up and I go, yesterday was great, today's been good, I guess tomorrow will be even better, and I'm never wrong. So
would you say that you control your destiny?
I think so. Yeah, I think you do. I mean, I'm sure there's.
I think you're a living example of that.
I hope so. I love life.
So the last thing I want to know is if there's one thing that you could change in your life or in your career, what would that be?
One thing that I could change?
Or that you could do differently, but I guess that would mean change it, so.
Well, I think
if anything.
It's really an impossible thing because you can't change anything. I think one of the biggest tricks is don't spend the rest of your life trying to change yesterday. It's gone, and I guess if I had to roll everything back, I wish I would have got a better education. I wish I would have put a little more, because the same enthusiasm that I put in everything else against all odds, I think I could have got better at what I'm not good at now. And I guess that would be the one thing that I'd probably like to change, is that I would have done a little better in school and tried a little harder. But it wasn't an interest of mine. I've never succeeded even a little bit at anything I didn't want to do that other people thought I ought to do. It's always what I wanted to do, and then it's not a job. I mean, since I've been in this business, I've never worked a day in my life. I just go have a good time. People used to say to me, "Aren't you glad it's Friday?" I said, "Not necessarily." And Monday, I'd say, "Aren't you glad it's Monday?" Here we are. We got a bunch of people playing with lights, and we're making little movies. So it's good stuff.
That's a good message to send to people. I mean, if you love what you're doing, then it's not a job; it's
That's
a
right.
calling, and
that's what I tell my kids.
All of us should be doing.
That's what I tell my kids. I didn't mean to step on your line. It'll be hard to cut, I know.
That's okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
That's interesting. I didn't bring it up, but he's also dyslexic, and my mom and I write all his emails and everything for him.
I cannot write 2 sentences.
So it really resonated with me.
And you wrote a book. No, but I mean, that's it.
Yeah, but I cannot write. I meet you 2 days ago, yeah, because I meet him. Yesterday, yes, it's true, yesterday, because I need somebody who translate my book. And I tell him on the beginning, I said, don't ask me to write nothing down because I cannot do it.
But he did actually write the book in the way that he can write it. And we helped him, and I translated it, and yeah.
That's great. That's great. Helen,